Hello guys and welcome back to the 2023-24 SDPN NHL season previews. Next up we have the Montreal Canadiens, a team hoping for a little bit of improvement this next year, especially in the younger players as they progress this rebuild. But how much of an improvement will they have and how much will those younger players improve? Well, watch till the end because we're going to be breaking down their entire offseason to see what lies next for the Habs. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor in Sports Interaction. Get on the action and make your bet with Sports Interaction. The race for the pennant is heating up. The Blue Jays are still in the thick of things as the MLB season gets closer and closer. Bet before the game or live and play with all your favorite teams. Go to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN or download the app to get started. 19 plus and please play responsibly. Now in this Atlantic division, the Habs are in a tough spot for making actual standings progress. There might be a lot in the youth, but in terms of actual points, I don't know how much better the Habs will be this next year. The health should be a little bit better, but I'm not sure how much that translates to wins with how much all of the Atlantic is just getting so much better in every single way. Now, when we look at what they did this offseason, the big addition, of course, was Alex Newhook, who adding on to that top six is going to be great. As a 22-year-old, he's in an interesting spot, of course. These last couple years with Colorado, not as smooth sailing as what would have really wanted to see. I mean, in the playoffs, of course, won the Stanley Cup, but this last year was given a good opportunity on that second line, but never really thrived with it and eventually got demoted. He's a player, though, that has talent, has skill, has good pace, but needs to show it this next year in Montreal. With Marty St. Louis, we've seen how he's been able to resurge young players' careers. Alex Newhook could be that another player in that line. We'll see what happens, though, but I would hope for around 40-50 points for Newhook if all goes well. Then you go on to the players that they lost, and there's only a couple of names. There wasn't that much movement with the Habs this offseason, but they did lose Jonathan Drouin going to the Colorado Avalanche in free agency. They're going to miss his pure playmaking. I mean, 27 assists in 58 games last year, not too bad, but they're not going to miss the lack of finishing. I mean, over the past 4 years, the highest amount of goals he had was 7 goals, and that was in 27 games. Jonathan Drouin, not the biggest loss with how much of a disappointment he was with the Habs, but still Colorado should be much better. You also got Denis Gurianov, who they acquired from the Stars, and at first looked to be pretty solid, but then kind of petered out a little bit, and eventually didn't even get a qualifying offer, didn't really get any interest from the Habs, and went into free agency. He's now with the Nashville Predators, and could get a decent opportunity there too, but I wouldn't really bet on it. If it didn't work in Montreal, I'm not sure how it's going to really work in Nashville. But now let's go to the players to watch here for the Habs, and there is a lot of interesting candidates. First up, I have Juraj Slafkovsky, of course, first overall pick in 2022, and his rookie season in the NHL went about as poorly as you could have imagined. 10 points in 39 games, and just in all facets was not ready for the NHL and wasn't in a position to succeed either. This next year hopefully will be a lot better for him as he hopefully slims down a little bit, gets a little bit quicker, but progressing in the points department and getting healthy will be most important. If he can get around 35 to 40 points, even though it's not going to blow you away, that would still be good development for him. Now, because we already talked about Alex Newhook, I wanted to talk about another player here at my second player to watch, and at this spot, I have Kirby Dach, who really this last year in Montreal, when he was healthy, found his game in so many ways. 14 goals, 38 points in 58 games. This next year, playing a full, healthy season with that production will be extremely important. Maybe he'll be on the right wing, maybe he'll play center, but solidifying his position will also be important for the Habs, solidifying where he stands in the future. He's still extremely young, though, at 22 years old. Hopefully, we see a healthier season out of him and a more consistent one, too. But now let's go on to the third player to watch, and honestly, one of the more important players for the Habs this next year in Samuel Montembeault. Now, hear me out. This last year, he was great for the Habs, and in terms of the actual stats, it may not have looked like it. He got a .901 save percentage in 40 games, but was one of the best goaltenders in terms of goals saved above expected, and he saved the Habs so many times last year. If he was an average goaltender last year, they might have been the worst team in the NHL. They were that bad around him. He also got a .939 save percentage in the World Championships, winning gold for Team Canada too. But to me, what's most important about Montembeault is even though they got some good prospects in the system, like Jacob Fowler especially, to me, if he's able to prove himself again as the starter for Montreal, have another good season, then to me, that is extremely important. Their goaltending has been in a horrible spot these past few years. Montembeault was a bright spot though last year. If he's able to stay consistent, they have so many more options. They can keep him, play him as a starter, or even trade him for pretty good value, honestly. But now let's go through grade the forwards, defense, and goaltending. And next up, let's go for the forward group. And this is not good. You will see developments in players like Caulfield, Suzuki, Dach, hopefully Newhook, hopefully Slafkovsky. But the roster around that is just pretty bad. Even though hopefully players like Anderson might be a little healthier, same thing with Gallagher and Monahan maybe. it's not that great. I'm gonna give it a C, and that's about the best you'll get. Now going on to the defense next up here though, and this is a situation where I think health really desperately matters. As of right now, I give the defense a C+. It's not good, but I don't think it's actually embarrassing. If Matheson's healthy, he showed last year he can be a great offensive D. You got players like Harris who put up great results last year. Gain Guli hopefully taking that next step too. Also, Jonathan Kovacevic was fantastic and efficient last season too. Hopefully we see an even better season out of Xhaka as well. A lot of options for the Habs, and hopefully they still stay healthy, because I think it could be a bright spot, especially with Harris, Guli, Kovacevic, Xhaka coming up and doing better. Now on to the goaltending, and this is likely going to be the best part of the Habs this next season, with Samuel Montembeault hopefully continuing what he started last year, and hopefully Jake Allen having a little bit of a rebounding season this next year too. Some options there for sure, and it's not going to blow you away, but I give the goaltending a B. It's absolutely the best part of this Habs roster and might carry them again this next year. To me though, I think the most important part for this Habs roster and the biggest question mark will be how much of a defensive improvement will we see throughout the entire team. Not just the defense and players like Guli and Matheson for the full season, but also players in the forward group. And to me, this might be what's most important. Players like Caulfield, especially players like Suzuki and Kirby Dach, getting a little bit more well-rounded defensively might be one of the biggest steps this next year. A lot of the forward group is dreadful defensively and was a lot of the reason why the defense was so bad collectively. To me, if we see some improvement in that area, that might be one of the biggest bright spots for the Habs this next year if it were to happen. Now, going on to what actually might happen this next year, I'm not really expecting too much improvement. I see them around 64 to 68 points on the season, 8th in the Atlantic Division. With how just competitive that Atlantic is from number 1 all the way to number 7, there is no way the Habs compete. It's just unfortunate, but it's the way it is gonna be. Let us know down below though, how much improvement do the Habs have? How much improvement do those younger players have as well? Who breaks out this next season for the Montreal Canadiens? Let us know down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you guys are enjoying the season preview so far. 32 teams in 32 days, so we hope to see you there for every single one. Share the video with all the hockey and Habs fans you guys know online, and we'll see you in the next one. Drink some water, have a great day, and I'll see ya. Goodbye.